Well, hello everybody. My name's Louise Savage of Louise Savage Muses. A very warm welcome if you're visiting my channel for the very first time, and an equally warm welcome back if you have strayed across my wafflings before. So I'm having an absolutely corking reading month. I think it's the 16th or 17th of July right now, so it seems a bit odd maybe to be choosing my book of the month, but I've read a book right at the beginning of the month that just has stayed with me and just really kept me thinking. And I'm having as I just said, a sensational reading month, but I think this book is perhaps a little bit more unusual, and it's a book that hadn't been on my radar at all. I don't think I've seen people talking about it much on social media, but it may just be me. I may just have missed it. And I don't get sent books by publishers very often, but actually Serpent's Tail very kindly sent me this book, and I'm so very glad they did, because I'm not sure I would have come across it otherwise. So I just wanted to make it clear it's not one that I self-selected, and it is Nicolas Padamsee's England Is Mine. And well, what a fantastic cover to start with, and what a bold statement the title is, with so many different connotations. You know, I love the way that the is stands out there in yellow on the cover. England is mine. But equally, you know, that those three words could be read in so many different ways, and of course have got so many associations with politics, particularly extremism. And this novel, I just absolutely galloped through it, and it shook me up in a way that I haven't really been shaken up by a novel for a very long time. The ending it really packs a punch, and yeah, I just think it's a very cleverly constructed, very well thought through novel. Now, the novel is going to be very difficult to talk about the plot and the characters without giving anything away. I don't want to spoil this and give away spoilers, so I'm going to have to really choose my words carefully, so apologies if there are lots of hesitations on the way. But this tells the story of two young men, one of whom is called David, and the other one I think is called Hassan, but I need to just check that because my memory is failing me. Yes, Hassan. And both boys, actually, their backgrounds are very pertinent and very interesting. So David is somebody who has suffered the most appalling bullying in his primary school, and one of the things the novel doesn't flinch away from is the impact that bullying can have. And I think, you know, maybe another reason that I love this novel so much is that it is about teenagers, two older teenage boys, and having taught teenage boys for many years, and also having had teenage sons myself, this book just, the relationships and their sort of general confusion about the world and their convictions, and the impact of their peers on them, and you know how difficult it can be to reject your peers, is so smartly explored by Nicolas Padamsee in this book. So David, you know, he's been the victim of bullying. He doesn't have many friends. He's got lots of sort of, you know, he's vegan, which of course is quite common amongst a certain type of teenager these days. He's decided that he doesn't want to go to university, which is kind of the path that his mother particularly might be expecting him to travel on. And his mother is Iranian, so he's got this, you know, he's got a white father who has lots and lots of problems. His parents are no longer living together. He's got a stepfather who he finds really problematic, but his own father is really troubled, and David spends a lot of time living with Dad. It seems to me that he goes between the two houses, but as the novel progresses, he seems to spend more and more time living at his father's rather than his mother's. So I found all that very interesting as well, because I don't think we talk about that enough. That idea that I think we tend to assume that children very often end up living with their mum, but once they have a bit more autonomy, because that's often what society decides, but as they get older and they have a bit more autonomy, they often end up perhaps spending more time with their father, and how does that work out? So I really, thank the novel for touching on that as well, or the novelist. So David's, a very well-defined character, and he's absolutely, as many teenagers are, obsessed with music. He loves music. He's got this musician who he absolutely idolizes, and this musician, at the beginning, he goes to a concert with his stepsister, who he gets on very well with, who actually in some ways is one of his few friends. And they go to this concert and they're very excited, and then short time afterwards, this guy comes out with some very contentious political statements, which leads to him being cancelled on social media. And David finds that really difficult because he's so loyal to him. So that throws David into turmoil. And he's already, a pretty troubled teenager as it is. So you've got David's story. But then you've also got Hassan's story. Now, Hassan is growing up in perhaps a slightly more conventional Muslim household. He's really diligent. He works very hard. His issue is that he's surrounded by these friends who he's had for many, many years, since he was little. But they are becoming much more interested in the drug scene, in aggression. That their behaviour is he's finding it very problematic. So he does have friends, but his friends are presenting him with problems. So what the novel explores is the way that these two boys are really trying to find their identity, and they are both gamers. So David is really into Call of Duty, or COD as the teenagers call it, and Hassan is very much into FIFA. And again, it's kind of, young boys often become tribal in those sorts of, and girls as well, in their affiliation to these different games. And I think Padamsee is trying to say something about the two boys through the choices that they make in terms of what they play for hours and hours and hours and hours on end online. And also, of course, the people that they meet on those platforms, on those online platforms. And a lot of the novel is told, so it flits between David's perspective, Hassan's perspective, David's perspective, Hassan's perspective, all the way through. But you have also examples of their online chat as well with various different people. Of course, they've never met IRL. So here's an example of where their online conversations are being presented on the page. Now, I don't know how this novel would sit if you're somebody for whom gaming is a completely unknown quantity. I only know a bit about it because one of my sons as a teenager, and actually still is, was very, very much into gaming. And also, obviously, a lot of the kids that I taught were. So it's something that I know a little bit about, not very much. And I wondered when I started reading this whether that would put me off, because there are quite big sections in the book which kind of focus on that. I would urge you not to be put off by it, because I think the way that the online conversations evolve and the impact that the online world is having on these two teenagers is a really important thing that we should be looking at as a society. So I would hope that wouldn't put anyone off. And the other thing that it really brings to your attention is the difficulty of, teenagers find it difficult to communicate with each other. But even more than that, the absolute awkwardness and difficulty of communicating with your parents and step-parents. And there are scenes in this, particularly with David and his stepfather, that I just found excruciating to read, because Padamsee really communicates the discomfort that both sides of the conversation are having. And, as an adult, I can see that the stepfather's motives are really sort of, I think, positive. But David can't see that at all. And and it's clever, and you know, the novel is witty as well. That there are, you know, it's about young people, so you know, you've got the awkwardness, and there are some fantastic scenes. David gets a job in a supermarket, and I really enjoyed his limited interaction with other staff within that workspace, because of course it was very new to him. So I thought this was a real revelation to me, and I you know, as I say, it's not something that I would have. It's not a novel I don't think that I would have would have discovered for myself, and it just it has really made me think, and I'm still. I don't know if any of you out there have read this, because I would love to know what you think. So the ending. And hopefully I'm not giving anything away by this. The ending, it kind of took my breath away, even though you could sort of, you know, you could see the direction it was heading in, but it, and you know, I wasn't, it almost felt like a cliche, but I don't think it is. And I can't make my mind up about that. So that's an appeal for help. So anyway, yeah, I've chosen this as my book of the month, because I really wanted to talk about it. And you know, it's 2 weeks now at least since I read it, but I'm still like, I need, you know, when you really want to thrust a book at somebody else and say, read this because I need to talk to you about it, I want to know how you feel. So yeah, it's a really good one, I think, for a buddy read. It would be fascinating for a parent to read it, to buddy read with a teenage child. That would be a teenage child. I don't know whether that's an oxymoron. That would be a really interesting thing too. So there we go. I hope I've conveyed my my enthusiasm for this, and yeah, I think it's a debut. I think it's the first novel that Padamsee's written, so I'd be really interested to see what he comes up with next. So there we go. Anyway, happy reading, everybody. The sun's hiding. No, it's not hiding. The sun has been shining beautifully here for once. We've had such a wet summer this summer in the UK. And so I'm going to go back outside in a minute and try and soak up a few more rays of sunshine before the evening strikes. But take care, everyone. Please let me know what you're reading. If anybody has read this, I would really love to know. It's only been out a couple of months, I think. I'd really love to know what you think of it. Anyway, take care all. Bye.